First question is, how do you deal with the legislators, considering that Labour Party is probably not in control of the legislative arm of the government? Quite frankly, I've been through this as a governor. When I was elected and sworn in as the governor, I have 30 House members, not from my party. In fact, nobody from my party was involved. As long as you are pursuing what is right, everybody will go with you, because the legislator is insecure in his place. He knows that his people are without job, and that's what he wants. He wants development. What else is he elected to do? It becomes a problem when you are pursuing transactional policies, which will benefit you, or you are engaging in nepotism where you have to. But if you address it by strictly following the Constitution, which spells out that the system is characterized by simply that we have diversity and all is included, and you do the right things, you don't need to worry about that. On the issue of IPOB, maybe you're not following me. Even yesterday, I spoke about Biafra being ended 53 years ago. It's all over the place in this space. I condemn all agitators, but in condemning them, you have to look at what brought about these agitations all over the place. It's not only IPOB. We have Yoruba Nation movement. We have all sorts. When you have created this level of massive poverty, where 63% of your population is poor, you're going to create all sorts of problems. I was speaking to a British minister this morning. I said we have about 40% unemployment. And we have about 60% youth unemployment, young people in their productive age doing nothing. If you have 15% unemployment in Britain today, you're going to have massive, remember, agitation. Nobody will be able to leave his house. So what you're seeing is a cumulative effect of leadership failure over the years, which will be solved by good governance. When people start seeing justice, fairness, and inclusive government and doing the right thing, all those things will start reversing itself. And that is what me and that is offering. I will talk and discuss with all agitators. There's nothing wrong in that. People agitate even in my house, and I talk with them. So I'll deal with everybody. I'll show you of that. Don't worry about that. On the issue of health, yes, we have a problem with health. We have underinvested, and because our government have not prioritized our development agenda, everybody knows that the only measure of development that is recognized globally today is Human Development Index. And this is hanged on 3 items: life expectancy, which is health. And we are low in that. Nigerian life expectancy today is about 50-something, as against the global average of 72. So we're low. Same in education. So it's to prioritize that. I just gave somebody an example. In the past 5 years, from 2015 to 2021, Nigerian budget in health is under 2.5 trillion naira for 200 million people. It's unacceptable. Even this year, our budget for health is about 1.5 trillion. Our budget for education is about 2 trillion. 2 of them combined, annual budget is about 3.5 trillion. When your 6-month budget for subsidy, which is a criminalized, listen, if 3.6 trillion, it's unacceptable. You have to put money in key development areas, as Professor Dutton has just mentioned, and I read out here, that what separates country, rich and poor, is health and education. So it's clear. So we will deal with it. But he said, how do you cover it? Nations of our size have covered it. How did India, for 1.4 billion people, cover issue of health? How did Indonesia cover that? We have big nations that have done it well. If we don't know how to do it, we learn from them. There's nothing wrong in learning if you don't know how to do it. Let me start with my sister there. He talked about the big, what you're saying is about the big boys who are selling generators. Let me assure you what we've been campaigning on. Our campaign, you have heard them say we don't have structures. That is the structure we're trying to destroy. Structure of criminality. That is what I mentioned. That Nigeria is being held captive. That structure is structure that have impoverished Nigeria. We will dismantle it. It will not be there. I assure you of that. We're going to turn around the power sector. Nigeria generates about, today, 56,000 megawatts of electricity for 200 million people. And South Africa, the second biggest in terms of economy in the continent,
5 to 6,000.
5 to 6,000, that's 5 to 6,000, sorry. And South Africa, the second biggest economy, 60 million people, generates about 40 to 50,000. And South Africa, in the past 3 months, have declared emergency in power and said anybody can generate up to 100 megawatts without license. So somebody who is 60 million, generating about over 40,000, declared emergency. What do you think somebody with 2 million people generating 5 to 6,000 will do? War. I'm going to declare war on power and I'll solve it. I want to solve the problem. For example, I said it without equivocation. I must pull out the poverty that is devastating the north. The vast land in the north is far more in terms of assets and source of revenue generation and export for Nigeria than the oil. It's very simple. And I give you an example of one state that I use every day, Niger State.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, you can see that Peter Obi, the Labour Party presidential candidate, had a fantastic outing at the Chatham House in London. It is, in fact, it was the most admirable outing by any Nigerian presidential candidate in recent memory. Peter Obi handled the situation so effectively and he spoke to the issues. He answered the questions directly. The questions were impromptu. You can see how he answered them. And those are the questions that I'm going to look at now to see the reason why Peter Obi gave the answers that he gave from the impromptu questions that were asked by the audience. You know, these questions were not scripted. Like somebody jokingly said, Peter Obi was so stingy, he didn't even allow any person to answer questions for him. But that's the man he is. He's a man that takes responsibility. When he tells you that the buck stops at his table, that he bears full responsibility for everything that will happen in his administration, you should believe him. Now, there are issues that he handled, and that is issues that I want to talk about, and these issues, Nigerians should believe him in what he told them from what he said at the Chatham House. Now you can see that the one of the issues that was asked, a lot of people have been asking this question, and I have even addressed it before in my previous videos. I was telling people who used to complain that what is Peter Obi going to do? How can Peter Obi implement his policies and programs when the National Assembly is likely to be dominated by opposition party when he becomes president? I told them, Peter Obi has been there before. He was the only ABGA person in the administration during his first term. The only ABGA person, aside those he appointed as commissioners and what have you. The assembly was dominated by the People's Democratic Party. Of course, there were challenges initially, because you know that People's Democratic Party is one of the most highly corrupted political parties in Nigeria. They tried to make things difficult for him, but he was able to weather the storm. Of course, not until after he had to suffer impeachment by these some people. But I can assure everybody, and with the confidence Peter Obi is saying that Peter Obi will walk through the aisles, both in the Senate and the House of Representatives, to see that the laws are passed. Because like he rightly pointed out, if the president is going to be a president that will work for the interests of the people, the lawmakers will have no choice, whatever political party, because all of them want a good Nigeria. All of them want things to work. Even though they are very corrupt people, these APC and PDP people, but they are also aware that the generality of Nigerians want good governance. So Peter Obi presenting laws in the National Assembly that will be in the interest of all Nigerians and not in the interest of Peter Obi, they will support it, because who doesn't want electricity to work in Nigeria? Who doesn't want water to run in Nigeria? Who doesn't want the education sector to succeed in Nigeria? Who doesn't want the health sector to succeed? Of course, there are selfish people, even among the legislators, but all things being equal, many of them will prefer good governance. And Peter Obi is not going to run a selfish government. So he's not going to run a government, do something that will be just for his own benefit. He's not going to run a nepotistic government. Therefore, there will be collaboration, there will be cooperation, there will be exchange of banter across the aisles to make sure that his government succeeds. Okay? So nobody should entertain that fear. I have told people this, even before Peter Obi rightly gave the answer that he gave when somebody wanted to find out how he's going to manage when the National Assembly is likely to be dominated by opposition party when he becomes president. And then the issue of IPOP. I've been telling people right from when Peter Obi was governor, Peter Obi has never been in support of separatism. He has always condemned violent agitators. People have been making a mountain out of Peter Obi condemning IPOP. He had been condemning, only that some people don't want to hear this. They don't want to find out the truth. He had been condemning activities of IPOP that are violent related. He had always condemned it. He has never tolerated it. He has never given any indication that he supported violence of any kind, not even when he was governor. And he rightly pointed out that he condemned alleged violent activities by this group. And he also take note of the fact that there were cause and effect for IPOP. There were reasons why agitators like IPOP, Yoruba Nation, Niger Delta, Avengers, and all what not. Imagine our political scene. It is because of injustice, because of lack of due process, because of you know, leadership failures. This he said he will address. And when he addresses it, Nigerians will see the need to love their country and to see the need not to agitate, to follow the due process, to get what is their rightful entitlement as citizens of Nigeria. You know, and Peter Obi can be trusted to do that. Now, he also addressed the issue of health. And I want to tell anybody who cares to listen, if you know the history of Peter Obi, what he had invested in the health sector, you can be sure that as president of Nigeria, Peter Obi will be using hospitals in Nigeria. And he will ensure that the hospitals are properly funded. The health sector, he will ensure it. Already he has identified the fact that health sector is poorly funded. He's going to do something about it. Okay. World Health Organization gave that every country, at least the minimum standard, countries should budget 15% of the annual budget should be on health. In fact, Nigeria has not been able to meet this target since 1999. But I know that Peter Obi will do as much as possible to ensure that he meets this target. He also going to meet the target set by UNESCO on budgetary allocation for the education sector. You saw how he compared Nigeria's investment in the education sector, in the health sector, and you see that Nigeria budgets more for these sectors than it does. He budgets more for subsidy than it does for health and the education sector, which are vital investment for human index development. So these are things that you can be sure that Peter Obi, he is one candidate that understands the issues. And like he said, he's a finance person. He knows what to do. He knows where to get the money, both locally and internationally. So Nigerians should trust him when he talk about some of these things. And you can see he has, as a leader, he has templates that he will implement. He has seen how health insurance coverage had been successful in India, in Indonesia. These are hugely populous countries. Indonesia is about 600 million people. India is about 1.3 billion or thereabout. If they can have health coverage for their people, where people don't have to pay through their pocket to access health sector, it will be fantastic, and people can do it. So that a mechanic can be able to have access to health insurance. A vulcanizer on the street can be able to do that. The woman frying akara can be able to do that. So that the health insurance will not be an elitist coverage where only civil servants and those in the high niche private sector could only access. He will do it. I can tell you for free that Peter Obi is somebody who is committed. His word is his bond. He will do what he's told the world at Chatham House is exactly what he will do. And you also saw what he said about the power sector cartel, especially the big boys who are into importation of generators. He situated it on the perspective of the structure that he want to dismantle, the structure of criminality. The people keep talking about that Peter Obi does not have structure. The structure that APC and PDP has, these are structures of criminality. And those importers of generators who are sabotaging the power sector development, Peter Obi will deal with them. He will dismantle that structure, and Nigeria will be free from their stranglehold. I can tell you for free, from what I have known and studied about Peter Obi as a manager of men and resources, he can do it. Okay, and he's also very clear that he will fight corruption. You can see he was emphatic about fighting corruption. When Aswad Bola Ahmed Tinubu was at Chatham House, he didn't say anything about corruption because nobody, it will sound as a hollow aspiration for Aswad Bola Ahmed Tinubu, given his record, to talk about that he will fight corruption. Now, what is his record? His record is what is written in the book of former President Olusegun Obasanjo, in My Watch. The title of the book is My Watch. It is sold everywhere books are sold. And Obasanjo said when he was president, the EFCC chairman, Nuhu Ribadu, compiled a report on corruption allegations against 28 sitting governors at the time. He said that of Lagos State Governor Aswad Bola Ahmed Tinubu was one of the worst that he saw. He said Ribadu gave him a copy of that report. He wrote it in his book. I have never heard that Aswad Bola Ahmed Tinubu has challenged the content of that book. I have never heard that he has filed a libel suit against Obasanjo. I have never heard that he has stopped the publication of that book so that it will be out of circulation. But as I speak to you, anywhere books are sold, they are there. In the bookshops, in Konga, in Jumia, everywhere books are sold, at home and abroad, you get it. Because if Aswad Bola Ahmed Tinubu has anything, if Aswad Bola Ahmed Tinubu, he has a right to challenge Obasanjo on that aspect. He has the resources to go to court to challenge Obasanjo so that they can face each other in the court based on the allegation that Obasanjo leveled against him in terms of corruption. Okay, so we are believing what Obasanjo said because what he said has not been challenged by Aswad Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Of course, Obasanjo in that same book said that the reason why Aswad Bola Ahmed Tinubu got away with it was because of his friendship with Nuhu Ribadu, which allegedly Nuhu Ribadu whitewashed him and quote-unquote sanctified him clean. So somebody with such a record that is on public domain by a former president, Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, who is highly regarded. Don't forget, Chief Olusegun Obasanjo was founding vice chairman of Transparency International, which is an anti-corruption agency that is highly respected all over the world. Go and check the record. Obasanjo was a founding vice chairman of that organization. So he is in a pole position to look at somebody and talk about corruption in his regime or not. So Aswad Bola Ahmed Tinubu cannot come and talk about corruption at Chatham House or says corruption. I think in any of his campaign, have you heard Aswad Bola Ahmed Tinubu talk about fighting corruption? Have you heard Atiku Abubakar say he will fight corruption? Atiku Abubakar is also one person that Obasanjo took to the cleaners in that book and leveled a lot of allegations against him, which Atiku also, like Tinubu, did not go to court to stop that book from being circulated, which tells you a lot about what Obasanjo said in the book about these people. So Obi acquitted himself well and showed that he is a president. He will be a president that will fight corruption. And he will fight it. He will fight it better than what Buhari did. Despite the fact that Buhari came under three-pronged agenda: the economy, fighting corruption, and fighting insecurity. In terms of corruption, the jury is still out there whether Buhari fought corruption, given what we are hearing. Okay? Now, there are some, you saw what he talked about the North. He talked about the North, how he will rescue the North from poverty. Or people are saying, why is he talking about the North? Why will he not talk about the North? Because he's going to be the president of all Nigerians. National Bureau of Statistics, in the recent poverty index they released, they say 133 million Nigerians are poor. Okay? Out of this, 65% are in the North, and that constitutes 86 million Northerners. So anybody who wants to tackle poverty in Nigeria must address where you have the hydra-headed poverty. So Obi is right in emphasizing on the North. So I don't think my Northern brothers should feel offended about it. But Obi is a man who works with the statistics. He is not the one that conducted the report. The report showed us 65%, of poor Nigerians are in the North. And there are 86 million. You cannot fight corruption without addressing their issue. That is why he's going to lay emphasis on it. In that report by MBS, 35% of poor people are in southern Nigeria. So common sense dictates that any president who wants to fight poverty and its dire consequences should concentrate in the North. Look at another statistics. We have now about 20 million out-of-school children in Nigeria. The vast majority of out-of-school children in Nigeria are in northern Nigeria. So Obi is right to talk about that. He has to deal with that issue. He has to deal with issue so that they can combine Quranic knowledge with Western knowledge so that they can be skilled to participate in 21st century economy. So that is a basic thing. He did the right thing by pointing out all these things. Aswan Bola Ahmed Tinubu never mentioned this kind of strategic understanding of what the economy needs or how to pull people out of poverty. Beyond what they are talking about, giving 5,000 naira to some people that that there is already disputes about who are the people who benefited from all these SIP programs that they are giving to rural women and the needy and the vulnerable people in society. Because the jury is out there, is still out there. Because that was how there was reports that even during the pandemic, when people were locked in their houses, that they were still spending money feeding school children. But that's by the way, because I'm concentrating here on the Obi's outing at the Chatham House. So you can also see that Obi also is, when you see Obi talk about that the vast land in the North is the new oil, he is talking about how to lift Nigerians, especially in the North, out of poverty. Of course, they are not the only poor people. Already I told you, MBS report, 35% of poor people are in southern Nigeria. They also need to be lifted up. They are all going to be encompassed in his agenda for moving this country from consumption to production. No part of the country will be left out. But the thing is dire in the North. And why is it dire in the North? If you look at insecurity, insecurity is all over Nigeria, but it is more pronounced in the North, no matter what anybody tells you. A report published by Punch newspaper in collaboration with a group in the United States shows that under President Muhammadu Buhari, in the last 8 years, 53,000 Nigerians have been killed as a result of insecurity. The bulk of those killed were in the North. And this is a combination of poverty, extremism, and what have you. So Obi is talking about, if I can turn the lands of northern Nigeria to the new oil, I will reduce poverty in the North, I will reduce insecurity. And when you reduce insecurity in the North, I can tell you for free that you have virtually cut insecurity in Nigeria by over 80%. So Obi is right. So don't judge him. Don't say, why is he focusing on the North? It is important he focuses on the North because that is where the hydra-headed problem of poverty and insecurity resides. You can go and check the statistics. You can go and check the statistics. There's a publication by the Punch newspaper where they list killings in Nigeria by geopolitical zones since Buhari became president. You can go and search for it somewhere on the line online. Okay, so it's important he did it. So Obi did fantastic job on that. He did a fantastic job on that. It was a fantastic outing that he had. And of course, you saw the last video where people were celebrating him outside the Chatham House. These were Nigerians who are celebrating that he is there, that he was there, that this is a man they trust that can take the country from consumption to production. And they trusted him. Of course, those people, throughout the period that Obi was speaking at Chatham House, if you go to Twitter, Reno Mokri was trending. Why was he trending? Reno Mokri was trending because he threatened to mobilize people against Peter Obi, but he was nowhere to be found because the love for Peter Obi was overwhelming. So many people were tweeting from London, from Chatham House, that they are there in Chatham House, they are waiting for Reno Mokri. He chickened out because the love overpowers his hate, just as light overshadows darkness. That was what it is. Another indication of the success of Obi's outing at the Chatham House. Okay, now people may say, what is the relevance of those diaspora, those crowd that were cheering Peter Obi, insisting that he is the president they want? How can they influence the election? Let me tell you, if you know the billions of dollars of diaspora transfer to Nigeria, you know that diaspora transfer to Nigeria is what is sustaining this economy. Because we're not getting much through export. Because most of the oil export, most of our oil are stolen. Now, these diasporas are therefore influencers. If as influencers, they send money to their families, build mansions, invest in real estate in Nigeria, invest empowering their communities and their family members and relatives, it therefore means that they are influencers. They can also call home and tell their people at home, say, this is what we have observed. Peter Obi is the man. Make sure you have gotten your PVC. Make sure that your PVC, you have gotten it so that you go and vote for Peter Obi. So anybody who disregards the diaspora, saying after a diaspora cannot vote, they are just making noise in London. No, these are influencers. They influence people at home with their money. And they can send messages at home, say, look, we know who can solve your problem. You cannot always depend on handouts or what we are sending to you from the diaspora. If you can institute a better government, things will be better. We can give you money to invest that will make your life better and change your life. And these people you see in diaspora, many of them want to come back home. No matter how home is still the best. East or west, home is still the best. If Nigeria is working, many of them will come back home. When India started working, the diaspora has begun to come back home, set up the hospitals that Nigerians are now going to India to enjoy. That is how it is. So Obi will make this country better, and the diasporans will come. The doctors among them, the technologists among them, they will come and invest. They could own companies in London, UK, in United States, Canada, what have you. But they will have a base in Nigeria, establishing high quality hospitals, ICT centers, technological hubs. And this can only happen when there is conducive environment for economic development. And Peter Obi will do it. And those diasporas you see celebrating Peter Obi, they are celebrating me because they are seeing him as hope for a good, for a new Nigeria. So don't disregard them. Don't say that they are just wasting their time. No, they are going to impact the election because they are influencers who will influence the outcome, the choices that their relatives, their family members, their communities that they have empowered and assisted will listen to them and vote the right candidate and vote for the man they were celebrating and putting their trust that he is the man that will transform Nigeria. Thank you for this watching this video thus far. And if you are new to my channel, you have not yet subscribed to my channel, please subscribe to my channel. Hit the subscription button, hit the notification bell. When you subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell, anytime I have a new video, you will be among the first to know. And please don't forget to like this video. When you like it, Google will recommend it for more people. With more people watching it, more people will see the need to vote for Peter Obi to become the next president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. God bless you and yours.